So here I am with the committee of Christkindlsmarkt. So let's have your name.
Merle Mackenzie.
Rick Meyer.
Denise Westman.
And so we're going to ask these guys how they've gotten into this, how long they've been doing it. So I think Rick's our spokesman, so let's ask him.
Well, I've been doing it, what has it been, 3 years? 4 years. This is the 4th year, and I've been commandeered to do it every year because it's a lot of fun. And
A lot of work.
started in 2007.
So it must be a fairly big setup, but what do you got to do?
Well, the biggest part of it is carrying over from the next year. I mean, every year you get a little smarter at doing this, but the thing that is the hardest to do is getting the sponsorship and the marketing for people to support this group because we're a nonprofit.
Okay. And then so if somebody wanted to be a vendor at next year's one, how would they go about that?
The easiest thing to do is to either call us, and our phone numbers are on the website, or email.
And what website would that be?
It'd be www.excelsiorchristmas.com.
So when did it start, and where did you get the whole thing, the idea from?
The actual Christkindlsmarkt, it started in Germany 400 years ago. And
In Nuremberg, Germany.
And it's a celebration of the Christ child and the Advent season.
Fabulous. And I see a lot of German food for sale. Is it all traditional stuff?
I would say so.
Yes, very traditional.
You like sauerkraut?
Love it.
Strudel. I mean, it's great food, and we got the glue wine, and it's just a lot of fun.
Denise has been to Germany several times and visited the different Christkindlsmarkt, so she's sort of our resident expert, and we try to be as authentic as we can be, and within the parameters that we have to work with as far as codes and rules from the health department.
Anything to add on that?
Denise, tell them how, well, they run it for a month in Germany, don't they?
Well, almost every little town in Germany will have a celebration like this, and it could be just the weekend. But a big city, let's say Heidelberg, Nuremberg, Munich, it'll run from the entire Advent season. So basically like our Thanksgiving to Christmas Eve.
That's a tremendous event. I think we should all go to Germany now.
Well, actually, didn't the lady whose idea this was to do this here, they have it in Chicago too.
Yes.
Oh, great.
It's a huge market in Chicago.
Very good.
Part of the reason that we started it in Excelsior, we were looking for an event that would bring recognition, bring more exposure to Excelsior, because we want more vitality in the downtown area for the merchants, so we have more business. And that's what happened with our person who lives in Excelsior, Linda Stuckett. Her parents are involved in Chicago. They have a German store in Chicago. They're involved in the Christkindlsmarkt in Chicago. And we talked about it 4 years ago, and we thought it would be a great idea. So Linda helped us with it, and this is where we've come. And this year has been a fabulous year because we got so many people coming to town. The merchants are very happy. I think the residents are happy. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
You got to come down and see it if you're not familiar with it. We have Santa on a trolley. He's the greatest Santa ever. The kids buy a token to get on a trolley and ride, and Santa makes sure to talk to every one of those children. We have alpaca, we have reindeer, and we have product from the alpaca, the warmest stuff ever, and the food and the different merchants. So it's really a lot of fun. If you see this, haven't done it, plan on it next year.
And it's a big fundraiser. It's the second biggest fundraiser for the trolley, which is important to town. So that's part of it. And the Boy Scouts sell wreaths. So even though we don't charge people to come in, they do have a small charge to ride the trolley, and that's really good for the trolley.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, and thanks for putting on a great show for everybody. It's been very enjoyable.
Thank you.
The evening festivities begin with the Parade of Lights.
you very much.
Very nice.
That's a very cute hat. We go from some of Excelsior's youngest residents to one of its oldest residents. As promised, it's now time to visit the home of Bob and Patty Williams. Born on Christmas Eve 1921, Bob has lived in Excelsior since 1929 as an accomplished storyteller, author, composer of music, choir singer, and is a very active member at the Trinity Church. So let's turn this over now to Nick and Bob.
Bob, when we decided that we would do a program on Christmas, we were talking about what would be the most appropriate way to approach this for Excelsior. And I immediately said there is only one Christmas Past program, and that's Bob Williams. So,
well, I do have a good memory.
You do, and you've got some great stories. Well, we're really we're lucky that we have a treasure like yourself
Thank you.
to share some stories about Christmas Past.
Okay.
And so take us back a little bit and
Okay.
share a little bit about your childhood here in Excelsior.
Okay. Well, we'll go back to the 1930s at Christmas time, and I can tell you that back in those days, you could find any kind of a gift that you wanted to give on Excelsior's Main Street. There were so many shops and stores that it was a very exciting time because it was a busy Main Street and there was lots of bustle going on, bustling, and it really was an exciting time. And I remember that very clearly. And I can hardly believe all the stores that were there. We had two drugstores. One was Wayne's Drug, and the other was, first it was Arnold's Drug, and then it was Bacon's Drug. And at Christmas time, those two stores laid out gifts everywhere. They looked, everywhere you looked, there were gifts laid out to show. And they featured perfumes, being a drugstore. And Wayne's always, they always carried Prince Machiavelli perfumes. And Vic Bacon's drugstore always carried Evening in Paris.
A little competition.
Oh, a little competition there. And but there were a lot of other, and you could buy a gift carton of cigarettes for $2 back in the 30s. And there were a lot of other stores. There were 4 hardware stores on the main street within that 2-block area, and a couple of shoe stores, 2 or 3 clothing stores, including Olds Dry Goods and the Windsor Shop, which was there back in those days, and then Premax that came from Hopkins. And there were a lot of electrical shops, and there were 5 grocery stores on the main street.
5?
5 of them. There was Johnson Grocery and IGA, which was George Hasher's, and a Red Owl, and an S&S Grocery, and a Red and White Grocery, which was owned by Oscar Torkelson at the time. But there were 5 grocery stores and 2 meat markets. They just sold nothing but meat. And can't believe all these were crowded into that one, basically into that 1 block of Main Street. A couple of jewelry stores and about 7 restaurants along that same Main Street. Back in those days, there was no house-to-house postal delivery. You went to the post office to get your mail, either in a post office box, if you could afford a box, and the rest of us, during the Depression, got our mail at the general delivery window. And so all you had to do was write Bob Williams, Excelsior, Minnesota, and I'd get it.
You'd get it.
And that was the way we did that back in those days. And if I recall right, even as a youngster, I can remember you used to, if you mailed Christmas cards and sealed them, you paid 3 cents postage on each one. But if you just took the flap and tucked it inside the envelope, you only had to put 2 cents stamps on it. Imagine that. Well, it was one way to save money, I guess. But there were all kinds of jobs back in those days for me. I peddled papers. I had a paper route. I had a Minneapolis Star paper route, and I collected the edition. It was 2 cents an edition. I collect 12 cents a week because there wasn't any Sunday paper, and so I got 12 cents a week. And if I had some customers who were in arrears 2 or 3 weeks, I was in big financial trouble. I can tell you that right now. But and then every day, now down where the Tonka building is today, the Tonka building wasn't there, but there was a huge oak tree over that big intersection there. And every afternoon at 3 o'clock, you could see all of the paper boys sitting on the curb down there waiting for the trucks to come in and dump all their bundles of paper. And we immediately tore open a bundle and turned to the funny pages to see what Buck Rogers was doing in the 25th century. And then back, tucked in that same corner, was a Phillips 66 station. Every Christmas, the Excelsior American Legion Post sold Christmas trees back in there next to the station. And you could buy a Christmas tree anywhere from a quarter up to about $1.50 or $2. Those were for the more expensive ones. But you could buy a Christmas tree for 25 cents or 50 cents back in those days if you had it.
Now, how was the downtown decked out during those period of time?
Okay, at first they just had, I think, one string of lights over what we now call Bacon's Corner, and that was it. And then later on, they started having these garlands about every 10 or 15 yards. There'd be another garland, and they were sponsored by the Excelsior Civic and Commerce Association, which was the forerunner of the Chamber of Commerce. And Win Fillmore, who lived in Deep Haven, was responsible for putting up most of those. He had a business called Fillmore and Bradbury, and that's what they did. I think they probably put up more Christmas garlands in more small towns than you can imagine, including Excelsior's. So it was an exciting time. They had lots of color and decorations going on. I thought it was a very exciting time. And on the 12th night, we had an evening service, a Feast of the Candles. And at the end of the service, everybody was given a candle to take home. And the story was they lighted the candle, and if you could get home without the candle going out, it meant good luck for the whole year. So you'd see people after the service going down all these streets like this, carrying the candle, making sure that it didn't go out. I don't know what the people in the cars did, but the rest of us all walked and tried to get home. And